Our world today is bedeviled with so many societal problems which are adversely affecting day-to-day living. Drug dependence or addiction has assumed a very alarming dimension as the physiological or psychological state of many youths is a theme of great concern. Consequently, international and local organizations, governments, as well as communities are raising concerns about the rising drug problem and what many youths have become owing to their indulgence in potentially harmful drugs. So, this will be the focus of this edition of Frontiers. I'm Nancy Godiangonihu, and our guest is the Director, Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You're watching Frontiers, and it continues in just a moment. Once more, Femi, you're welcome to Frontiers.
Thank you.
Now, the 2018 National Drug Use Survey, a joint research by the National Bureau of Statistics and Center for Research and Information on Substance Abuse, indicates that 14.3 million Nigerians aged between 15 and 64 engaged in drug use. What's your agency doing about this to squarely address the situation?
The result of that survey actually painted a very glaring picture of what the drug problem in Nigeria looked like. And that's what we're still using up to now, even though we're due for another survey because more than 4 years now. And fortunately, we have President Buhari, who absolutely understands the issue, and immediately a presidential advisory committee was set up. That's PASEDA, Presidential Advisory Committee on the Elimination of Drug Abuse, was set up with a lot of professionals and eminent Nigerians, including even the First Lady, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, and the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Osinbajo, a lot of other people. And somehow, that committee was chaired by the present chairman of the NDLA, General Mohammed Buba Marwa. They did a good job, produced a blueprint, and coincidentally, the president also thought it good to appoint the man who chaired the committee, PASEDA, to come implement the recommendations as Chairman Chief Executive of NDLA. And that marked the beginning of a wonderful response to the problem of drug abuse in Nigeria. Now, coming straight to the question, the agency has been able to respond and tackle this problem on two major frontiers. Sorry, apology for using
okay.
for using
the program is Frontiers.
yeah. So
it's okay.
One is on the law enforcement. That is the drug supply reduction. We actually know from that survey, from the result of that survey shows 40.3 million Nigerians with a 14.4% prevalence, which is almost 3 times the global average. That is that was frightening enough. And so one of the major things with the
Nigeria.
one of the first things the leadership of General Marwa, when he came in January 2021, what he did was to employ one of the tactics of war, which is offensive action. He introduced offensive action, and that is to take the battle when we have to make sure that we cut supply. That is supply reduction. And so we went after those behind the cartels, and those behind the cartels, the barons, the traffickers, down the chain of the drug distribution. And that led to a lot of successes.
No.
And I can tell you, between then and now, we've been able to mop up more than 3.5 million kilograms of assorted illicit drugs from our society, with over 17,600 arrests and close to 3,000 convictions. I can go on and on that. That's on the drug supply reduction. Now, on the drug demand reduction, which borders on preventive measures, treatment, and also post-rehabilitation for drug users. I'll tell you, quite a lot of initiatives, especially advocacy-wise, have been implemented and are still being implemented. One major one, which is like the umbrella body for all the initiatives, is the War Against Drug Abuse, WADA, which was actually launched on June 26, 2021 by President Buhari himself. And the whole essence of that is to mobilize everyone in Nigeria, all citizens, to buy in and take ownership of the war against drug abuse, so that you will see it as your war, I will see it as my war. And so we won't see it as just a Buhari war or Marwa war or NDLA war or government war. All of us, because we are all stakeholders, and we may all end up as victims as well if we don't come together and do something. So that initiative was meant to do that. And
can I?
Okay,
yes,
please go ahead.
Can I ask you, because you talked about this WADA?
Yeah.
What's the response of Nigerians to this WADA?
Oh, absolutely! I can tell you, it's been very awesome, because WADA is not just an initiative that operates at the federal level. Now it's cascaded down the governors, the wives of governors, down to the local government levels and the communities. And we are also glad that religious leaders, traditional rulers, community leaders, and everybody, they are all buying into it and taking ownership. And let me just cite a simple an example of what the spirit of WADA could do. Recently, I think towards the last quarter of last year, we had an explosion of a very dangerous drug in the southeast, that is crystal meth, which locally is called Mpurumiri. And you can see how the communities in the southeast rose up and said, no, we won't allow you in our communities to sell this, we won't allow anybody to consume this, even to the point of even taking some of...
saw some viral videos,
people taking them to the market center, village square, to deal with them.
Themselves.
Yeah, that's the spirit of what, even though we as an agency of government, law enforcement agency, we don't support violence, but then the spirit behind it, for people themselves to rise up and say, no, we won't allow you. So that is all about, because
sensitization.
Exactly. So that WADA is actually meant to sensitize, to mobilize Nigerians to see this war as their war. You don't have to wait till the NDLA comes to. You work with us so that we can together salvage the situation. And beyond this, like WADA has quite a lot of other initiatives under it. Like through WADA, we've been able to initiate a lot of things, like the drug integrity test, asking people before you, as students, as workers, as political office seekers, everybody down the line, down the chain of leadership, we're asking them, present yourself for drug test. Even as prospective couples, present yourself for drug test. This, we believe, will go a long way to discourage people from going into drugs. Because when you know that before you gain admission, before you are allowed into the university or school, higher institution, the school will ask you to come for drug test. And we're glad that a lot of schools are doing that now. And that is helping, because when you are going, you go for drug test. And if anything, we're also working with the schools and ensuring that, okay, when these people are tested, don't throw them out. Because when you throw them out, that is, you rusticate them, you are sending them back to the society where they got infected with this scourge. And so you are making worse their case. So what we recommend, what we ask the schools to do is send them to rehab centers so that they can be treated. And when they are treated, allow them to come back and continue their education. And we're glad that we're getting positive response on that front. Positive response. But beyond the drug integrity test, we've also tried to also get the state governments to buy into this and recently, because at that level, they also need to replicate what we are doing at the federal. at the state level through the drug control committees down to the community, so that at every layer of leadership, whether in government, in organizations, or in communities, there will be drug control committees.
Because NDLEA cannot do it all
we
alone.
cannot all be there. So,
right.
but we
now,
work with them on all of these layers.
Now, what do you think is responsible for the rise in this drug abuse in Nigeria, and what does or what kind of drugs top the abuse list?
Now, if we have to be discussing the factors responsible, we can spend the whole day here and will not exhaust it, because there are many. One, let's even start from the smallest unit of the society, the family. Poor parenting from the homes. That is one issue. When you have parents that just believe they want to give birth to children and throw them on the streets, they care less about how the children grow up, the kind of friends they keep, what they do, all of this contribute. Beyond that, you also have some parents that they even send their kids to go and buy these drugs, starting from alcohol, cigarettes. And when they are seated, taking this thing, whether beer or cigarettes, these kids are in one corner looking at what their parents are doing. And they become interested. When they are done, when the parents are done, the remnants of the drink in the bottle, they go there and test. And gradually they build, they climb the ladder. That is also a factor. But I mean, that's also an issue. Now, beyond parenting, you also have the problem of peer pressure. Now, this is at the home, the poor parenting at the home level. Now, when they go out, they mix with a lot of other people, and these ones come up with this attitude, this culture, this subculture, so to say, and there are kids that are not exposed to this scourge yet. They make them feel either they are inferior or they don't belong.
They don't belong, yes.
Yeah.
They don't belong.
And so to also want to belong, they get, unfortunately, because of the pressure. You see, that's a way of blackmailing their psyche. So a lot of them fall for the pressure. That's peer pressure. Beyond the peer pressure, you also have socio-economic factors like poverty, which is major. We cannot deny it. We cannot run away from that. Poverty, a lot of people, due to lack of jobs, nothing to do, and so they look at taking some of these drugs as a means to escape, even though temporarily, from their pressure, from their frustration. But then we tell them the problem will never go away. Instead, the drug you are taking will add or compound the problem.
Before we move on, Nigeria was a couple of years ago a courier of drugs. It is now heavily into drug production and consumption. What's the agency's plan to curb?
Here in Nigeria, we cultivate and produce cannabis, and that's the number one drug.
And marijuana.
Marijuana, called a lot of names out there. Weed,
marijuana.
Yeah.
Cannabis is marijuana.
Yeah, marijuana, Indian hemp. They call it all manner of names there, and there are different variants. And based on that drug survey, you started with 10.6 million as at that 2018 Nigerians between that age bracket, 19 and 64.
64, yeah.
Yes. Consumed
15 and 64.
Yes, 15 and 64. Consumed cannabis alone, 10.6 million. That is huge. And we believe largely the number could have definitely been more than that by now, because that survey was in 2018. Yeah, indeed, some years ago, we're just a transit nation, but unfortunately, over time, we have now become both transit producers and also consumers. And but then, the good thing is, you see, if there is a problem, is another thing for government to overlook it and pretend as if it's not there. But as it is in our case, the government realizes the enormity of the problem, and we're doing everything to make sure that we cut down the figures and take out some of the issue. I mean, some of these factors responsible. And one on the issue, I've told you that within the last 16 months alone, we've made over 17,600 arrests. Over 17,600 arrests with more than 3.5 million kilograms of assorted illicit drugs, meaning that, yeah, they may want to bring this from outside the country, or even those produced locally here, especially cannabis. We go far deep into the forest where our men will have to trek 3-4 hours because these are deep forest where even vehicles, motorcycles cannot access. So our men have to go trek into this forest deep in the night to make sure we destroy all of these plantations, and that we've been doing very well to respond to that. So we're trying to go, not just coming on the street to mop those being sold, but then going to the source to make sure that we destroy, at that point, because when you have a flood, you don't just go and mopping where the flood spreads to, you also make sure you trace the source to close the tap, and that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah,
we will take a break
very well
now. You're watching Frontiers, and it continues in just a moment. Glad to know you're still watching Frontiers. Now, you mentioned marijuana or cannabis as one of the most abused drugs globally. However, some developed countries have legalized its use in the treatment of some diseases like cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, and a host of others. What's your take regarding its adoption in Nigeria?
Now, in our own case, it's an argument that has been coming forth back and forth for some time now. But then, in our own case, now where you mentioned some countries, you're talking of Canada, but do we have the same issues, or does Canada have the same issues we have here? Especially, number one, as security challenges. We have to be don't forget that we have beyond doubt established that there is a strong nexus between drug abuse and the spate of crimes or security challenges we have across the country. So there is because we have empirical evidence, whether those that have been to the camps of the bandits, seeing them popping pills and smoking cannabis, injecting themselves with all manner of drugs every time. But even on a plain level, can you imagine that anybody in his or her right senses will go out to do the kind of things they are doing without taking some mind-altering substances? Definitely, we're convinced that definitely these are not things human beings that have blood flowing in them, can do. Now, so we have been able to establish that. And so, if we are facing the kind of challenges which these other jurisdictions that you probably want to refer to don't have, they don't have the kind of security challenges we have. So we cannot afford to take that risk to say, okay, let's legalize it, because the argument will be like, okay, but we can control it. They forget that, okay, some pharmaceutical opioids are controlled, like tramadol. When you take cannabis, the next most abused is tramadol, codeine. Yet they are controlled. So when you talk of control, it doesn't work, because people will still, now it's not controlled. I mean, these drugs are controlled and they are still being abused. So we're fighting those ones hard. So we cannot afford to add another unsafe control. Then when you look at the arguments of those saying, let's legalize it, they say, okay, we'll generate revenue. Now we have to choose between, do we want to generate revenue, make the money,
or have a chaotic society?
Have a chaotic society or public health problems, because we don't think it's not logical to say you want to make money, and at the end of the day, the money you are spending to build psychiatric homes or rehab centers, is much more than what you are even
The
generating
money
from.
you're making is not being managed by normal human beings.
God bless you.
How
Now,
can
you
it grow?
absolutely understand.
Now, everything we engage in as individuals has its good or grave consequences.
Definitely.
What health challenges are drug abusers exposed to?
Oh, they quite there's psychosis. Yeah, quite beyond psychosis. You also have, I mean, a lot of them. Even though drug abusers, some take drugs because they have mental health issues, and some take drugs and develop mental health issues. So you also have all of that there. Some develop a lot of health complications, even up to the problem of fertility. It also affects the fertility. Apart from that, people that take these things, we just discussed about, I mean, these things are mind altering. Now, you are exposed, when your mind is altered, you are exposed, or you don't have control over your actions, which could also lead to a lot of dangers to the individual and also the family and the society at large.
Your organization, as a government agency saddled with the responsibility of controlling and tackling the drug problem, has brought some innovation with the launch of the toll-free caller center. What is the whole essence of it?
Basically, you see, over the years, we discovered that there are quite some people that are actually using drugs. They know that they realize they have problem. Now they need help, but they don't know how to go about it. Either as a result of ignorance, or as a result of the fear of stigmatization. They are afraid that, okay, if I go out to enter a rehab center, people will see me and say, hey, this one is a drug user, or it's an addict, something like that. So they don't feel comfortable. Now with this call center, it's to provide a platform for Nigerians, irrespective of their geographical location, their tribe, their language, wherever they are.
Hiding.
Yes, whether in the northeast, northwest, north central, south, southeast, southwest, anywhere you are in Nigeria, you can call that number 0800 10 20 30 40. 0800 10 20 30 40. You can call that number. You don't have any cause to fear of credit, because government NDLA has paid for it. So yours is just to call
simple a number.
So simple a number.
Easy for even the mentally.
Yes, to know. And again, we also tell people that this platform, the call center, the toll-free line, when you call, is language friendly. If you think, oh, I can't speak English, I can only speak Pidgin. Somebody will attend to you in Pidgin. Somebody will attend to you in Hausa. If it's Hausa, you can speak. Somebody will attend to you in Yoruba. If it's Yoruba, you can speak. Somebody will attend to you in Igbo. If it's Igbo, you can speak. So it's language friendly. You don't have any reason. Now, the whole essence is to break the barrier between those that are suffering from this scourge and who need help, but they are afraid of seeking help. Now they can sit in the comfort of their homes, call this line, and get help. Now, we also want to say that they help some people, because we are aware that some people also think, oh, if I call the line and say, I have this problem, I have this issue, and then they will come and arrest me. No, that we are not arresting anybody. We are providing that platform to help them. So we're not going to arrest them. Instead, we're going to bring help to them, get them treatment.
Now, Mr. Femi, Baba Femi, your final words on this.
Well, for us, we're encouraging those that are already using drugs, that NDLA has come with help for them, that has no cost attached. You are not going to pay for the call. Call 0800 10 20 30 40 to seek for help. And if you want to give us information, call that line also. They will pick your information and do the need. And for those that are not yet into drugs, we want to encourage, especially our young ones, that they should please not go into drugs, because when they go there, they only know when they start. They don't know where they will come out of it. It's not a walk in the park.
Mr. Femi, this is wishing your agency greater support in fighting this scourge, and we wish you the best.
And thank you very much for giving us the platform to discuss what we are doing. Thank you.
I have been speaking with the Director, Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, on the rising drug problem and efforts by the agency in tackling the ugly trend. I'm Nancy Godiang-Nihu, thanking you for your time.